This is a message humans fired into space. In 1974, a radio telescope in Puerto Rico transmitted 1,679 binary digits toward a cluster of roughly 300,000 stars. The message described human chemistry, human numbers, the shape of a human body, and the position of this planet. But that cluster is 25,000 light years away. The message does not arrive for 25,000 years. The cluster will have moved. Nobody had checked whether anything there was listening. Nobody had asked whether it was a good idea. This is the story of what humanity looks like from the outside, and why that answer is stranger than anything anyone has found out there. Nearly everything that follows is speculation, and it gets labeled as speculation when it arrives. The one hard fact underneath all of it is this. There is exactly one confirmed example of life in the universe. Every conclusion here is drawn from a sample of one, Los Alamos, 1950. A lunch conversation, and a physicist asking a question nobody has answered since. The numbers are absurd on their face. Hundreds of billions of galaxies, trillions of stars. A large fraction of them with planets, and a meaningful fraction of those sitting at roughly the right distance from their sun for liquid water. On any reasonable arithmetic, the galaxy should be crowded. Signals, probes, traffic, noise. Enrico Fermi's question was 4 words long. Where is everybody? Because the sky is quiet. 70 years of listening, increasingly good instruments, and nothing has ever come back. Not a signal, not a probe, not a single unambiguous artifact. That gap between how full the universe should be and how empty it sounds is the Fermi Paradox. And most attempts to solve it assume the missing party is them. There is a less comfortable option, that the arithmetic is fine, the silence is real, and the strange thing in this galaxy is the one doing the listening. Start with the least dramatic explanation, which is also the one with the best physics behind it. The universe is young, star formation is not winding down. On current models, it continues for something on the order of trillions of years, which means that if the full history of cosmic life were laid out on a timeline, the present moment sits somewhere near the very beginning of it. Astronomers, including Avi Loeb, have made a version of this argument formally. By the numbers, life around long-lived small stars in the deep future should vastly outnumber anything alive now, which reframes the silence completely. Not a graveyard, a room that is mostly empty because most of the guests have not been born. And it has an uncomfortable consequence, which is where this stops being a comforting story. If humanity is among the first, then in 100 million years, when something else finally rises and looks back through the fossil record of the galaxy, we are not the newcomers in that story. We are the ancient ones, the advanced precursors who were already here. Every myth about wise, powerful elder beings who came before, one day that story might be about us. There is a second idea, wilder than the first, and it is a real hypothesis rather than a joke. It is called Panspermia, and it proposes that life did not start here. The claim is that the raw ingredients, or possibly something already alive, arrived on comets, meteorites, and drifting dust, and landed in the oceans of a young, sterile planet. The evidence for it is suggestive rather than conclusive, and the honest position is that nobody knows. Amino acids have been found in meteorites. Some microbes survive vacuum, radiation, and impact conditions far better than they have any right to. None of that proves arrival. It establishes that arrival is not absurd. But notice what it would mean if it were true. Every tree, every animal, every person who has ever lived, all of it descended from something that came down out of the sky onto a world where nothing lived, and then spread across the entire surface of that world. That is not a metaphor for a colonization event. That is the definition of one, which raises the question the whole video has been walking toward, because whether or not life arrived from space, what it did next is a matter of record. Here's the standard description of an alien invasion, assembled from a century of stories about it. A species arrives on a world it did not evolve on. It spreads to every continent. It consumes the available resources far faster than they regenerate. It reshapes the surface of the planet to suit itself, its atmosphere, its rivers, its coastlines. And the native creatures die out in enormous numbers as it expands. Every element of that description has already happened on Earth. Humans reached every landmass, including Antarctica. Human activity now moves more rock and soil than all natural erosion combined. The atmosphere's composition has been measurably altered, and species are disappearing at a rate estimated in the hundreds of times the natural background. To every other living thing on this planet, the invasion is not a hypothetical future event. It happened. It was us. And it is over, because we won. The terrifying alien species this planet has been waiting to meet has been here the entire time, looking upward, wondering nervously whether anybody dangerous is out there, which makes one particular human habit look very different. There is a speculative answer to the Fermi Paradox, and it is genuinely speculative, popularized through fiction rather than established through evidence, called the dark forest. The proposal is that the silence is not absence, it is discipline, that any civilization which survives long enough learns that announcing its position to an unknown universe is a catastrophic risk, because it cannot know what is listening or what that thing wants. So the survivors go quiet. The galaxy sounds empty because everything competent in it is hiding. There is no evidence for this. It is a story that happens to be internally consistent, which is not the same thing as being true. But hold it next to 1974 for a moment. A species roughly 200,000 years old that has held radio for a single century, aimed a transmitter at 300,000 stars, and broadcast its chemistry, its body plan, and its home address into a silence it does not understand. The telescope that sent it collapsed in 2020. The message did not stop. It is still going, at the speed of light, and there is no mechanism by which anyone can call it back. So here is the solid ground, and it is a very small piece of it. There is one known instance of life in the universe. Not one type. One instance, one origin, on one planet, observed by the only creatures it has ever produced who can ask about it. From that sample of one, humanity does not know whether it is early, average, or late, whether life is common or a fluke that happened once, whether it began in these oceans or arrived from somewhere else, or whether anyone else exists at all. Every idea in this video is a line drawn through a single point. Any number of lines fit, but they converge on the same place. Each one, followed honestly, ends with the strange and powerful thing in this galaxy, turning out to be the species asking the question. The listening continues. There are more instruments now and better ones, pointed at more of the sky than at any previous moment in history. Nothing has answered. Maybe the room really is empty. And this is what it is like to be first. To arrive early, look around, and find the lights not yet on. Or maybe the room is full. Everyone in it worked out a long time ago that the correct move is to stay perfectly still and say nothing at all. And somewhere out in the dark, a 25,000-year-old message is still traveling with our address on it.